Power Spike is brought to you by Esports Bet. And now's a great time, if you haven't placed a wager yet, to use their $100 loss forgiveness bonus. This means if it's your first time betting on the site and you happen to lose, well, just message the mods on their Discord and they'll refund up to $100 USDT back to your account. Might be a good time to take the risk-free underdog on DRX at 3.578 as of the time of this recording. If you win, $350 back. If you lose, just message the mods and they'll give you your 100 USDT back to your account.
We started with 24 teams, or generally like 16 teams that mattered. And now we're down to the final two. It is World Finals time, everyone. Welcome to Power Spike. Dgon, Monty, and Dom here to break down all things Worlds here for you. And we're so excited. The end of the year is upon us. We had two fantastic series. And we had maybe one or two of you at home doing a NostraDOMus impression. And maybe, just maybe, calling DRX and putting your name and username on there. That was wild. Dom, let's start with you. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm like essentially taking my time off during I'm pretty much only live viewing the Worlds matches, but yeah, I mean I've just been taking a step back because let me tell you, Worlds is I think it's probably the worst time every single year for any type of league content creator. I would say it is just the most people are the most disingenuous, the most mentally ill. You get to see it with all of the takes that come out now where it's oh, well, Zeka just proves that Chovy has been overrated this whole time and Knight is actually really bad. It's I just see this shit and it just makes me just hate what I do. So I'm actually really enjoying not interacting with the community during this period, because it just the problem is that if you just answer the common fan perspectives, you just come off as overly negative. So there's almost no point in engaging. But at the same time, if you don't engage, then you allow these narratives to be perpetuated for forever, I guess. So yeah, it's been an interesting world, I'll say that.
You know, this is the problem. Normal, traditional sports fans also have the hot nephew takes a lot of the time. But typically there are a number of games where watching them, or at least having general knowledge over star players, is achievable. It's achievable, right? The thing is that with the amount of league in the world, what happens is these people just invent narratives about players that these people haven't watched for the entire season, because they're just LEC fans and they just hear about Chovy and then just expect things from Chovy at Worlds. And then they read a Reddit narrative this person seems like they know what they're talking about, instead of actually seeking out experts on those regions to qualify that information or prevent a good take.
I mean, I think that this will say it enough without even getting into the take. The most upvoted thread regarding Zeka's performance with comparisons to Chovy and Knight called Zeka a random. Unironically called Zeka a random. He played in LPL for 2 years, and then this year he played in LCK. He's been a pro player at the top level in the best leagues in the world for 3 years. And we're calling him a random. And people are like, yeah, he is a random, man. Never heard of that guy. This guy played on BLG and then Vici Gaming for a full year and then DRX for a full year. He's just been playing pro games for a long time.
Yeah. Dom, he's not a household name like Larson. He's not a household name.
He was good. He was good when he was in LP. Last year in 2021 when he played for BLG, he was good. And then this is the type of stuff that we're having to fucking talk about.
Well, Dom,
before we lecture the nephews, we got some other business.
Yeah. Sure. Before we lecture the nephews, I want to remind anyone and everyone that's going to the World Finals in San Francisco. We just announced it. We are hosting a live viewing party on site, on the bar, within the Warriors Pavilion. It is right there. It is the last stop before going into the Chase Center. Come see me, Monty, Wolf, and a whole host of friends in person. We'll have Dom calling in, we'll have friends calling in. You're going to see all your favorite personalities on over there.
We will be giving out some drink tickets. So what we're doing is starting at 2 p.m., we're going to do an entire Worlds pre-show. Then That's for open for anybody, and it is literally at Harmonic Brewing Thrive City, which is like built into the Chase Center. So it will take you 2 seconds to walk over there. Beforehand, you can maybe get some drink tickets. We're giving out hundreds of free T-shirts and hoodies for Last Free Nation, so you can come get that. You can also, just hang out. We'll have a stage there doing the live pre-show, and then when you go inside, if you have a ticket, you can come back out afterwards for drinks and food post game. But during the game, if you do not have a ticket to Worlds, but you still want to hang out somewhere and see it with other people, maybe you couldn't get in. Tickets were obviously very hard to get this year. So if you live in the Bay Area, you can also come and watch the matches there, have food, have drinks. We're going to have 6 or 7 55-inch TVs split between inside and the patio. There are no tickets. So it is first come, first serve. So like be there early and get a spot is what I would say. But come drift in, drift out, take our free T-shirts, hang out with us, and watch some content that's actually going to be analytical before World starts in the 3 hours preceding the 5 p.m. Kickoff with the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
So that's it. Should be really fun. Should be really
It'll
fun.
be a lot of fun. So not open bar. Monty, shut that idea down. But
we do have, look, there is a bunch of craft beer there. We will be giving out tickets. You can also purchase your own craft beer and food. They have good food there as well, from what I understand.
All right. Well, hope to see y'all there on the day of World Finals, November 5th. We were speaking earlier about experts touching on this on the expertise of different regions without really knowing what that region is, aka an LEC fan talking about DRX's mid laner. But something else that's going to be a little tough is during the World Finals, live viewing is co-streaming is a little different. Riot went a different way, and that is going to be our first segment of the day. It's tough to swallow on the World's co-streaming for World Finals. All right,
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know. I'm going on this one, Dgon.
Yeah.
So they just announced that they have 4 different co-streams heading up for this World Finals. One of them in English with Sakuno, who, look, I'm not a part of whatever like streaming house / offline TV club culture goes on. I literally watch none of that content. I do understand that this guy used to be a League of Legends creator and is, a major personality, a major streamer, but hasn't been doing LOL recently. Now, they brought in Ibai, which is obviously great because he is now partially an owner or one of the major stakeholders in an LEC team and has a large audience that watches League of Legends. So like I get that one. Not really sure about the Korean and Chinese streams. But the point of this is like why I find this so egregious is we have people, including my esteemed colleague, IWillDominate, who has grinded all year, 15 hours a day, ridiculous, doing co-streams of LPL, LCS, live viewings of LEC, people like LS, people like Kadril, who will be on the broadcast, so I guess he's a little less relevant. All of these kinds of people who have put their time and blood and energy into this, streamed thousands of hours this year alone, worked harder than any caster on the game, basically, when it comes to this kind of content. And they're allowing people who haven't grinded out this lifestyle before this opportunity because they have audiences that may not be as hardcore. They might bring some casual fans into doing Worlds or watching Worlds. And that's all great. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But there's also no reason why you can't let your core content creators who kind of speak to the most hardcore members of your audience do the exact same thing. Like, I don't understand why there only has to be these 4 people. And, honestly, it really just sets a grim precedent for the future of Riot esports, if I'm going to be totally honest, because you combine this with Valorant, where most of the audience is on co-streamers, and you wonder what is the future of people who actually like esports and not random personalities commenting on things that they may not have an in-depth knowledge of, right? As a former caster, this like honestly deeply saddens me in many ways. I wish that we could have seen both parties involved in this co-streaming because I think it makes sense. And also, it makes good business sense to continue to reward people that do the grind day in and day out for you. It makes you wonder why these people do it, honestly, if at the end of the day, people who haven't been doing it just randomly get co-streaming privileges on site at Worlds, treated super well by Riot, and they just kind of ignore you at the end. I think it's really depressing.
Yeah, the day-to-day grinders not getting the credit and the payoff that they deserve there at the end of it. When I think of how this was implemented by Valorant, the two, I think, co-streamers in English that were brought on site were players, aka people that grinded out hours and hours of the game. It was Tarek, who has Turkish blood, and of course Shroud, who co-streamed every match and then played in the tournament there at the end with Sentinels. So those two co-streamers make sense because they are of the community. They are the community. They are the heartbeat of it. So definitely a questionable, I think, kind of take here by Riot on the co-streaming stance. Dom, obviously this affects you. Do you want any final thoughts here?
No, I mean, I'd say it's expected. Like, trust me, I'm not super sad about it or anything. It's like it's like, well, the thing is, when you've been screwed over so many times by the same group of people, like, it's just, you come to expect these types of things to actually like happen, right? So for me, it wasn't like a massive shock. I also think that one of the things that is telling is they don't view co-streaming as like a skill. They just view it as like, oh, you're just like there, like doing your broadcast, the other guy's doing there, but like they don't actually view it as something that you are actually getting better at, which is something that I think like co-streaming is actually, it's actually hard to do accurately, to be able to provide narratives and like give a good amount of feedback while also like discussing like the intricacies of the game and not getting sidetracked. Like, I actually think that co-streaming is something I've gotten better at over the years, which is why I've seen like viewership increase. So I think that that's the part that people are missing out. It's not just that like you sit there and you just like rant about a game. Obviously, if you do a million games in a day, there's going to be games where you're not as on. But when you go to like a world final co-stream, right, or like live view in my case, and I'm talking about the game with like a professional coach of a team that played in the tournament like the entire time, and we are talking about the nitty gritty of it, like that is appealing to viewers. And I just feel like they don't value that at all as like, you know, an actual like the quality of the product is just not valued at all in the situation. It's pretty much just like, Sykkuno is more popular than you, like you're fucking random, like piss off. Like that's pretty much what I hear from that.
Yeah, and I think it's different too, because even we've seen like the NFL do what are effectively co-streams with the Manning cast on Monday Night Football, but it's different because Peyton and Eli Manning are legendary quarterbacks with deep game
Hall
knowledge,
of Famers,
right? Yeah. And so, you know, with multiple decades of experience between them, the difference is that, you know, they're not putting just a random celebrity on there and then having them opine about the games to try and maximize coverage. That's the difference to me, is that the NFL,
super weird.
You know, and by the way, every Riot esports employee loves to tell you about how big of NFL fans they are, but they don't seem to get like that. Ultimately, if they want people to engage in their products at a deep level, it's going to be through, I think, the more hardcore streamers. Even if they don't have as big of an audience as these people, there's just going to be a bunch of looky-loos rubbernecking on, you know, Sykkuno's stream. But I'm not sure that actually translates into new players or new fans.
Yeah, I would argue that from what I've seen, a lot of the times it doesn't, which is why we've seen actually in the streaming space a huge decrease in the amount of like game streams for games that are like just not in the current streamer's wheelhouse. Like you don't see like as many mobile game ads on Twitch anymore as opposed to other days, because people realize that just having a massive audience and then trying to like siphon them off into an area where they're not really familiar is not actually an effective marketing tool. Like the best way to do it is to have somebody who's genuinely excited about the product that they're trying to promote and knowledgeable about the product. Obviously, Sykkuno's played League before. He started as a League content creator. That was 8 years ago. Like I would be surprised if he knew who Zeka was before like this week. I would be surprised. I would legitimately be surprised if he knew who Zeka was before this week. Like, I mean, it's just that's who you're gonna have. He might still not know who Zeka is. He's probably going to be like, who the fuck is this guy when they actually start the matches? So I think that's the issue that I see is like, I don't think the product is going to be that good. Like, I would be very surprised if Sykkuno's just able to rock up and just co-stream better than me for a year. Like, if that happens, bro, I'm quitting. If he comes in and he is just dropped, like, you will never
Heard it
see
here
me
first.
fucking again.
He drops all the analysis, all the player
I'm quitting
storylines,
life.
everything.
I'm quitting life. You're never seeing me anywhere ever again if this shit happens. Okay, like there's no way.
Pretty sure
that he's
there's a
going to
0% chance of that happening, buddy. But
yeah, that's what I think too. I hope so because quite some stakes there. But anyways, like it just the quality is not going to be there. I mean, and the other thing is the viewership is not going to be as high as they think it is from Sykkuno. Like, what do you think Sykkuno's viewership is going to be on YouTube during this? Like, I don't know what he's averaging.
I have no idea what his average viewership is. Like, no.
So his average on Twitch was like 25K, 30K. I'd be surprised if he had like 150K or like some like really insane number, which is what he can sometimes hit on like random event streams. I don't think his viewership will be that insane compared to normal. And my comparison would be like when Ludwig got co-streaming rights to finals. He got co-streaming rights to finals back when he was a Twitch streamer before he went to YouTube last year, and he was competing with the rest of us. Like his average view count I think was like 25-30K, and he only had like 17 for finals. Like he had less viewers than normal because he wasn't doing his normal content. And like streamers like myself had like 15. I think LS might have had like 20. LS might have had more than him. Doubles had like 40 or some shit. So like these streamers are not actually bringing as many eyes as people think, because in a lot of people's perspectives, like they're essentially just like doing an ad. It's just like ad content. So people just don't engage with it the same way they would with like their natural content.
Well, we'll see how this all pans out. Lots of choices for, I wouldn't say fans, but new viewers to watch from. But we know that we've got a pretty good one here in Dom if you want all the analysis. You still doing the live viewing, right, brother?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I've been doing it with Yamato. So I'm going to be doing it with Yamato, who is obviously coach of Fnatic, who competed against T1, one of the teams that
and beat them.
Competed, beat them, and prepped versus one of the teams that actually is in the World Finals. I think that's pretty valuable insight that you can gain from somebody like that. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have Sykkuno on my co-stream in the future, and we'll see what ends up happening. Maybe that'll be just better quality content.
Dom, you said that co-streaming is a skill that you get better at over time.
It's like another skill that you do. Yes.
Well, yeah. And another skill that you have that is specific is going to Reddit and shitting on some bad takes. And so we'll open up our next segment for you. It's Listen Up, Nephews, with a little post about a couple of mid laners that, show up to Worlds and disappoint, and actually they turned out to be randoms. It was the Chovy and Knight post because Zeka beat him. Let's hop into Listen Up, Nephews. Dom?
Well, it's that time of the year again. We have Worlds happening. We have underdog stories. We have upsets. And whatever happens means that was the only thing that could have possibly happened. That was the only possibility in the world. And that anyone who did not see it coming is an idiot. And that the players that were supposed to be good are now overrated. So we had a great, we've had great discussions recently. Zeka has been playing extremely well at this tournament. He has been having probably one of like the craziest glow ups that we've ever seen at a world championship. I mean, we've never had a 4 seed get to the finals, and we've never had a player who was not considered like in the realm of like the top 5 players end up actually potentially being one of the best players at the entire tournament. But unfortunately, what that means is now we get to see great discussions like the Chovy Knight post yesterday with 5,000 upvotes that talked about how a random like Zeka destroyed Knight, completely gapped Chovy, and proves that Chovy and Knight are not what they are hyped up to be, and that Zeka is actually the Chovy of the LCK. So I just really like going down this rabbit hole. I mean, I think that every now and then, like, you just have to just disengage. But during this show, I'm fucking paid to engage. So here we go. Like, here we fucking go. Number one, Zeka being a random. Let's just start there. Zeka is not a random. I don't know where this idea that Zeka is a fucking random came from. He's a random if you are a fucking casual that never watches Pro League at all and you've never like watched LCK or LPL in the last 3 years. Yes, then he's a fucking random. He's not a random if you followed Vici Gaming, if you followed BLG. Like these were like BLG was top 6 in LPL at the end of regular season last year. And he was a good player on the team. this was one of the most stacked splits in terms of talent. This is when Doinb was popping off. This is when Knight was popping off. You had Scout like looking really good. Zhao was top lane at the time. But you had like Fofo, for example, who was doing really well. Angel, who went to the World Finals last year. You had all these really good mid laners, and Zeka was in the conversation for being one of the better mid laners, like a top 5, top 6 mid laner in LPL. And then he goes to LCK. He has some of the best laning stats, like in LCK, like period. And people will just create a narrative that because he's on a 6th place team, he's just like a piss random. Like, yeah, sure, he probably wasn't one of the best like mid laners, but he's not a fucking complete random. Like, he was somebody who, if you asked people about Zeka, they're like, yeah, he's good. He might not have like all of the qualities, but he's pretty good. Like, no one would be like, oh, Zeka is dog shit. Like, I think this guy fucking sucks.
He was I think that, but you know, I talked about this on SI, Dom, but I think like you mentioned the glow up earlier. And I think what's important to mention is that it wasn't that he was a complete random. He was pretty good, but we have to be honest about his starting place if we're going to celebrate his ascension, right? Because like we have to just be like, yeah, he was pretty good, but he had a limited champion pool. His control mages, in spite of the fact that he played a lot of his Azir is not amazing. I mean, look at what happened in the game. Like, he kind of played badly on Azir in game 1 of their series. Like, he's not super good at this champion. He's a very high economy mid laner. He takes an enormous amount of DRX's gold, but this is a team that, outside of some brief stretches where mostly in summer when they were on their early win streak in the first round robin, they were really emphasizing a lot of like Ornn and Callista play, and they were playing through bot lane, and that's why they were winning. Or Kingen was making like crazy flash, Ornn engages.
Flash Ornn.
Yeah, it wasn't Zeka, guys. Like, that wasn't what anyone was talking about at the time. It was like, oh shit, look at this Callista play from Deft. Oh shit, look at this Ornn play from Kingen. And then you remember they actually lost more than they won in the second round robin. They ended with a negative map differential. They were -1, and they squeaked into playoffs in 6th place. They also lost to every other team in the playoffs in the second round robin except for Damwon. So like, they were fine, but you really have to contextualize where DRX was and where Zeka was and where they are now. And part of this is also the world's champion pool is just so fucking good for him. Like, he is an assassin player. That is who he is at his core. And it is an excellent time to be fucking good at Sylas, Ahri, and Akali.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, so let's do the second part of this. So number one, like Zeka, I know everyone calls him Zeka now. People called him Zeka in LPL for like years, so I still say Zeka because that's just what I heard on broadcast for literal years. But Zeka, however you want to pronounce his name, compare him to the other mid laners. So now there's a narrative that he destroyed Knight in group stage. They went 1-1. They played the same matchup on both sides. You guys remember the first game where Knight was on Azir versus the Sylas from Zeka? That was the one where his bot lane tried to do this dive to cash in Draven. That was the Vi ult from Tien onto the, like, trying to cash in the Draven. I think the enemy team was playing something like Kate Braum.
Yes, it was Kate Braum, yep.
Kate Braum, and they had a Draven Vi Nautilus, and they tried to kill this Draven. They're going to the tier 2, or they tried to kill the Caitlyn, tried to cash in the Draven. They go to the tier 2, try to cash it. Like, Knight is laning fine. He's up like 15 CS. Zeka just drops away mid, goes, collects a double kill, and walks back mid. Like, why do we have to go with the narrative that like Knight is shit to say that Zeka is good? Like, what? And then in the second game that they played, Knight played a fucking better game than Zeka, and then Knight ended up being like, I mean, they ended up just winning that game. Like, Top Esports won that game, so they went 1-1. Like, the game was a stomp because essentially the whole game was predicated on TES trying to cash in the Draven, and they failed at like their main condition, their main win condition. Their main win condition of this game was like, we are going to throw our Nautilus ult and our Vi ult onto the Caitlyn. The Caitlyn can't move. Draven gets a cash in. We'll play through the Draven and snowball. That just didn't happen. They failed that. And then Jackie Love died a million times. Also, Wayward was getting dicked in that game too. That was actually the game where there was like the turret, or the Gnar bug on the turret where the boomerang flew sideways and it actually made Wayward die. Well, we don't even need to talk about that though. How does Knight get the blame in these games? Like, what? Just because he's hyped?
He was probably the most consistent member of top throughout the entire tournament.
Not probably. He was the best player on top. Like, he was the best player on top clearly the entire time, right? Like, he was the most consistent player. In the losses, the only reason that people were like, the The only way Top can win is if like this Azir ends up carrying and then his whole team dies in front of him. It's like, yeah, he couldn't carry. The criticism of Top is like, you shouldn't have put Knight on Azir. You should have put Knight on the Akali Sylas because that was his thing, right? Like have him go toe to toe with Zeka on the Akali Sylas. You would expect, like, look, after this tournament, the Zeka stocks are through the roof. So maybe Zeka's just going to beat everyone on both sides of that matchup for all of eternity. Like, who the fuck knows? I'm saying that at that point, the criticism was just like give Knight more agency in the game. He was laning well with Azir. We've seen Azir versus Sylas, and we've seen Sylas get through that lane a lot easier than Zeka got through. Like Zeka was down CS, he was getting pushed in. Knight got a play, like he was playing the lane perfectly, and then the enemy just gets a fucking double kill bot lane and comes back with 2 kills. What? Like, how is Knight getting flamed for this? That's number one. Number two, it's like the Chovy thing. Yes, Zeka gapped Chovy in the semifinals. Chovy has been the best laning mid laner in the world for like years now. Like he is the best laning mid laner in the world when it comes to just like trading in mid, being able to get pressure, CS advantages. Like he has been the best in the world. Worlds matters the most. But it doesn't mean that nothing else matters in the world, like in the global scene of League of Legends. It doesn't mean that every time that Chovy was just playing extremely well in LCK, that just all gets fucking removed because he played bad in one semifinals. Like people will say like Chovy, Chokey, whatever. Like people love this narrative because obviously Chovy has a lot of fans. So when he fails, people like come out. But it's so disingenuous to then just be like, yeah, Chovy was just never that good in lane. He's just not as good in lane as Zeka. Like we saw it here, right? He was worse in this series than Zeka. So Chovy is just a worse laner than Zeka. Nothing else matters. Years of like dominance, years of like laning prowess doesn't matter because of what's happening here. It's just such a fucking casual take to have, and it's like it's so frustrating as somebody who watches like all these games, and I spend all the time, and then to just have people lie and then have the lies be like consistently upvoted and agreed upon. It's just bad for the history of League of Legends. Like, what are we gonna have this narrative from now on? It's like, yeah, so Chovy was actually like, let's say Chovy retired next year. It's like, yeah, well, Chovy, I mean, he was a choker, but also he was overrated. Like, he was never that good in lane. Is that gonna be the narrative? Like, I really hate the direction that League goes.
It really is a bummer, I think, because that performance from Chovy undercuts a lot of the growth that we've actually seen from Chovy this year. So I've never been personally that big of a Chovy fan because I didn't think he was very good at translating his laning success into wins, right? He didn't play well with his teammates. He frequently played like he had blinders on and was not communicating with his teammates or watching what they were doing on the map. But honestly, there was
side lanes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I don't have a problem with that. Like, that's just the side laning stuff is who he is, and like, I think that Gen.G played side lanes extremely well this year and used the side lanes and intelligently traded cross map when teams were doing objectives in order to put themselves in a favorable position later. Like, you have to just know who he is. I mean, the real egregious thing was that Azir game when he was just like pushing mid while the rest of his team was just dying at Dragon, right? That was like a classic Chovy play from the past. And I think that's what was weird is that we basically got the worst of Chovy this game, which was his suspect teamwork combined with him losing lanes. So you got none of the good parts of Chovy and you got all of the bad parts. And he just had a bad day. I think he was very forthright in his interviews by saying he had a bad day. But there was really big improvement with the Gen.G team and the Gen.G coaching staff this year. And I frankly think he got nervous and like reverted to old habits.
I'm just going to say this. If I was playing mid lane and I had Peanut on my team and Peanut played Graves, I would run it down as well. Okay? Like, I'm going to fucking run it down. I'm going to make sure we're not playing Graves in the fucking next game. All right?
Look, man,
it is what it is.
Look, Peanut lost a one game in game 2, in my opinion, by greeting and being horrible. In game 3, it opens up with Doran like running it down in top lane. Like, there's a lot of reasons that Chovy would have been tilted in that situation or felt enormous pressure to carry the team because it wasn't like and that's the other thing is like it wasn't a Chovy loss. Like, Chovy played bad in lane all of the games and wasn't the same Chovy we've seen. But there were like, who was playing well on that team would be my next question, right? Like, Ruler and Lehens were fine, but you know, the top side of the map was really struggling. They were really struggling. And I think it's very frustrating to go from a game that you feel like you have complete control of and Peanut dying twice for no reason, and then throwing the game when you have a really like comfortable lead and a clear win condition, and then heading into the next game and then having this fucking top Sejuani just completely shit the bed. And so it's not an excuse. Like, you have to, championship mentality is that you overcome that and carry the game and do what you can to prop up your teammates. But it isn't what happened. But I do think that it does a lot of disservice to Chovy, to Gen.G, to the coaches at Gen.G for honestly a pretty remarkable transformation from Chovy, which I didn't know if it was ever going to happen at this point in his career. Like, I never knew if he would improve in those ways, and he really did, but not in the end, which is what people are going to remember.
And as always, you don't have to shit on something else to build up someone. Like, it's never like that. So nephews, come on, don't be like that.
I mean, you just don't watch these guys. Like, that's the thing.
Well,
like,
yeah, but then it's like, then shut the fuck up. Like, if you're not if you're never gonna fucking watch, like if a post opens calling Zeka a random, who the fuck is upvoting that? Like, why is that the most popular thread? Why is everyone like, yeah, crazy, man, Zeka was a random and now he's just better than Knight and Chovy? Crazy how that happened. Like, just don't entertain these takes. Why are these takes so fucking popular? Why are these like revisionists just like, and the thing is, they also like have this like level of malevolence to the take. Like, you can tell that they're not made in good faith. These are like bad faith takes that people are trying to do in order to like, I mean, shit on Chovy stands, shit on like LPL players, like, because LPL played poorly at this tournament or like lost at this tournament. You can't even, let's not even say play poorly. They lost to this tournament, right? Because here it's different than the LCK. We don't just make excuses. Like, if we lose, we lose. That's how it is. So it's not blue side gap. No. They were worse. LCK was better at this tournament, just like LPL was better at all the other tournaments. So it is what it is. My point is, like, why are these takes so popular? I hate that these takes are so overwhelmingly popular in the community.
On that note, I don't remember another Worlds where players were asked as much about specifically the LPL LCK gap. Did that happen more in like recent Worlds? Because that was like Dracos's question, and
I mean, it's weird, right? Because like, when LPL beats LCK, they never ask like, which is the best region in the world. But then when LCK like wins, like, and then it's like, there's two LCK teams in finals. Like, who's the best in the world right now? They're like, Faker, who is the best region in the world? Like, it's so weirdly biased towards LCK from like the Riot.
It's also like, I don't know how many times Faker has to say like, it's not about the regions, it's about the teams. Like, get over it, guys. This isn't. If you actually care about League of Legends, then you just appreciate the styles and the different strengths and weaknesses of the teams and the matchups going in. I mean, I don't particularly care about regions outside of just trolling Dom. I really enjoyed
you haven't
watching.
been able to do that for like 3 tournaments, so it's been rough for you.
But I really enjoyed watching JDG this tournament. I thought it was fucking great to watch. Really good team. And I was just enjoying the matches, and I was glad we got. Also,
I mean, to add on to your point, the other point is that with the shit format, you actually don't get to know like who's the second best team ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like, there's no way to tell. Even if T1 stomps DRX and it's like, damn, T1 had a harder series versus JDG, you can't actually know if JDG is the second best team in the tournament because we don't have that like double elimination format. You don't actually get to see these teams battle out. Maybe DRX is a terrible matchup versus T1, but DRX is a good matchup versus JDG. So you can't even like.
I mean, I do think it legitimately that T1 is a good matchup, or like JDG is a good matchup for T1. I do think stylistically that's true.
Well, if DRX wins, then is T1 the second best team?
Well, I mean, you can't even know that, right? Like, you can't even know if DRX.
That was the right answer, Dom.
That's my whole point here. That is literally my whole point. Is that people will be like, oh, of course T1's the second best team, but if T1 gets smashed, like let's say T1 somehow gets 3-0'd, like how can you then say that T1 is like definitively better than Gen.G? When we saw T1 play versus Gen.G domestically, that was obviously Gen.G favored. Now it's a different meta. But if T1 is just losing to DRX super hard, like, you won't be able to tell. So that's the hard thing about Worlds, is that you get who's the best team, you get a completely inaccurate ranking of 2 through 8. It's like at the last Worlds where people will just talk about like 3 LCK teams were in the semis. It's like, yeah, I mean, RNG ran into the eventual world champions in quarters. But yeah, I mean, like, you can't actually know, like, I think if RNG played a team like Hanwha Life in quarters, they would have beat them. Obviously, that wasn't possible because of the bracket draw. If they would have played Mad Lions, they would have beat them. Like RNG could have made a semifinals. It could have been 2 LCK, 2 LPL teams in the semifinals. 3 LCK teams in the semifinals doesn't matter in most cases. Here it matters because the LPL teams and LCK teams actually like faced off. So I think that here you can actually make a point. But in the last Worlds, you don't know who the top 4 teams in the world is. Like, you don't know if RNG is a top 4 team in the world when they lose. I mean, technically at this Worlds, if T1 ends up spanking the fuck out of DRX, you don't even know if RNG and JDG are necessarily worse than like DRX and Gen.G. Like, you'd have to see like those best of 5s. That's the whole point, is you only get the first seed, and then your rankings of all the other teams are just based off like some like transitive property. It's like, well, this team beat that team, which means that they must be better than the team that the first team beat. Like, you just do some weird shit like that. So yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much all you're gonna get from Worlds is who is the best team in the world.
There are 47 days to go in Esports Bet free to enter Worlds Prediction Series. Now, you may not get much action in League of Legends, but I'll tell you right now, they're going to be doing Counter-Strike, many other esports, through the Major, through Blast, through everything else. So you play with DJT. If you sign up using our referral link below and message the mod mail on the Esports Bet Discord, you start with 50,000 DJT. You play for free, make your predictions. If you do well, you will win money. They are giving up to $10 million in total away and up to $300,000 for an individual. So it's your chance to win big by entering for free. So head on over to esportsbet.io.
Well, we'll dive into more about DRX specifically in the spot with the segment afterwards. But first up, we just finished up talking about Chovy and Knight to build up Zeka. So let's get into it. It's time for this week's Keep or Kick. Would you keep Zeka or Faker? Now, obviously, historically, you know which way this would go. But right now we're seeing the rise, one of the greatest rises in the history, not the champion, of Worlds, of a mid laner in Zeka stepping up. And Faker, who has also been, I guess, scaling into the form that he's in now, showing off multiple champions that we did not see earlier in his semifinals, tapping, as he said, his old friend Rise to show off that he still got it across multiple different champions. So the question is, who do you keep? Who do you kick? Faker or Zeka? And Monty, let's start with you here.
All right. Well, as good as Zeka's been, I really think that you keep Faker. So first off, I think Faker has been improving throughout the tournament. He had a really fucking magnificent semifinal that shows all of the kind of intangible qualities that you love to see about Faker. Incredible creativity in unseen situations, which is the hallmark of a great player. His mechanics and ability to dodge skill shots have been on point throughout the playoffs. Decision making on engages on Azir, the fantastic escape on Rise. He was very, very good as expected. And even though he may not have at this point in his career the kind of flashy assassin chops that Zeka has, he's also one of the least likely players to tilt in this finals, whereas Zeka's still, I believe, 19 years old, 19 or 20, very young. And it's impressive how well he's done in high pressure situations, but there are also no expectations on him, which I think have been quite helpful with DRX. But I think Faker has overperformed, as has Zeka, given the year that they had, but the depth of Faker's kind of historical knowledge of matchups, knowledge of macro, ability to shot call for his team, whereas it's most likely Beryl who's doing that on the side of DRX, I think makes him more valuable to his team in this overall final.
Dom?
I mean, keep or kick, one of them's the GOAT going into a world finals after a good performance. Like, you just have to go with the GOAT, right? Like, Faker's the greatest of all time, and he's playing well right now. Like, versus anyone, you'd keep Faker, right? Like, that's just what it is. That's just the reality of the situation. Like, that is part of having such an insane track record and having such an insane career, is that if you get informed, people are going to like definitely believe in you. And yeah, I mean, I think that you've got to keep Faker here. Like, I think that Zeka might be able to overperform. Maybe but I feel like Zeka's just been like, he's been riding the wave. I mean, it's crazy that he's even here in the first place, but like, you can't take him over Faker when Faker's playing well. Like, come on.
I mean, I think like also Faker is less likely to go for some of the like all-ins that we saw potentially from Scout that caused him to lose a bunch of the 1v1s versus Zeka,
Flashing
and
into turret and killing himself.
yeah,
Is what
flashing
you're
the
saying?
turret and getting CC'd and killing himself. I don't think Faker's
Yeah.
likely to do that. Faker is just a much more like even-keeled player right now, that he's at a point in his career where he's happy just to take the slow kind of incremental victory with his game knowledge over you while still having some pretty serious mechanical chops. He also just is, has a deeper champion pool than Zeka right now. He's a much larger threat on Azir. We did see Zeka play Galio and play it pretty well, but I mean, Faker is probably second to Xiaohu in terms of like Galio abilities. And I think Faker also just has an infinitely deep pool of surprises when it comes to his champion pool, as we know. So at this point in time, I love to see Zeka. I think Zeka is the leading MVP candidate heading into the finals. Now, obviously, that predicates on a win, right? I think it's an interesting conversation to have. Who is the leading MVP candidate on the T1 side? I think it's Korea for me at this point in time.
For me, I would probably say Guma. I feel like Guma just hasn't like made any mistakes really. Like he's just been so insanely consistent. So as much as Guma like had his problems before, like the whole problem with Guma, specifically in spring, I think that the thing that people were always looking for is like, when is this guy going to end the game? Even in summer, it was the same thing, right? Like when he was playing Zeri, you never felt good about him being ahead.
Summer, but yes,
yeah. Well, I would say, in spring, my argument was that there was a lot more ways to save him when he ended.
Yes, there was a Thresh Lantern.
There was a Thresh Lantern, and then there was a Calm Kench a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So in spring, you could bail him out when he entered. In summer, you couldn't bail him out when he entered, but it was like there was still that consistent tendency that he would not understand when he was killable at certain points of the game and put himself in positions where he would just get hit, like he would just either make him like he would burn his own resources, which then would make him killable later on, or he'd just flat out die. Now it just feels like he's not making those mistakes. He's like not having those errors, which were always like the Achilles heel, where it's like he had really good lane phase. He was really solid mechanically, and then every now and then he would just die, and it would be like, okay, well, you just can't have that quality as an AD carry. I don't feel like he's ever inting. Like he's like, even when he dies, it's like they're throwing everything at him, and it's those positions where it's like, okay, like I think that you don't necessarily like need the like there. I mean, the foresight to see all that coming is like such a ridiculous standard to hold an AD to that I think that it's almost a moot point. So for me, I would say, like, if you play AD carry perfectly, like where you're not making any of these errors and you're also like being relatively aggressive and consistently like getting leads, I mean, I just think that AD carry is like just going to get it over support, because AD carry just a harder role than support. Like, look, support is just, at the end of the day, you're like 1k LP inflated if you're just playing support already. So, it is what it is.
To your point there, I think it was the game 2, maybe game 3, where Guma's been playing so well. He dashed forward. We've been seeing him over and over again use the Gale Force to execute someone. He dashed forward, Gale Force, and got caught by an Everfrost and died. It was so foreign from this whole world's performance that it's like, oh, he can do that. He can make the mistake. Very reminiscent of how he was playing earlier in the year. So I think that kind of turn there, that kind of growth leads to how the expectations have stepped up for him and how he's met almost all of them. So in that moment, it was like very interesting how like it wasn't, oh, this is another Guma death. It's like, oh shit, Guma died.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even the Guma deaths that I'm talking about, because that's like in the fight where they're like up a kill and then he like dies like trying to like get one more kill. Like I feel like that's a different quality death than like when he's just like holding a mid wave. Like that was like in the middle of the fight,
Yeah, what he does, he'll just like walk up to take 2 more autos on a mid tier 1 and then just get caught and die.
Yeah,
that's what he
that's
does.
the type of shit. That's the type of shit that I was like, what? Like he doesn't have like a what the fuck. Like that death was like, okay, he's like trying to chase a no flash Silas. Like he gets Everfrosted into like max range, like QW'd from a Belveth. Like it's like, okay, man, like I guess he dies there. But I think for me the main thing is that like he doesn't have those stupid deaths. Like you can die in a fight. Like no one's gonna play actually perfectly all the time. But like as long as you're not just getting caught, that's what I care about more. Like actually being just like caught out on the map. Like when it comes down to like not being aware of where other players are on the map, as opposed to like a mechanical misplay.
All right. Well, I guess you both go with Faker here over Zeka. So we'll see how it plays out in the world. And if you at home agree, disagree, let us know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already across all platforms, make sure to subscribe here at Last Free Nation so you miss any of your top tier esports content. Thank you for supporting Power Spike. Before we get to our big topic to kind of set us up for Galaxy Brain Club, it's time for my fact. It's the Dgon Fact of the Week, sponsored by no one. Beryl is now the first player to make 3 world finals for 2 different teams. Not even Faker has done that. Faker has made 3 finals, but which player also has made 3 finals along with Faker?
So Wolf and Bang.
There it is, Wolf and Bang. That was easy.
Yeah, the people that were on his team that he was carrying.
All right. But I was hoping that maybe it'd be like, is it Bengi? Was Bengi there for 3 in a row? Bengi was not there for 3 in a row.
Nope,
I
he was not there at the end. It was
not
Peanut.
there.
Right,
It was
wasn't it Peanut and Hooney?
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, there you have it. Time for Galaxy Brain Club. The big topic, and we touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about who the second best team in the world is, but that's a foregone conclusion if DRX loses. But the big question is, does DRX deserve to be a world finalist? Let's discuss in this week's Galaxy Brain Club.
Yes. Okay, we finished it. Nice. Cool.
Well,
yes,
they beat everyone. Is that they beat everyone else on their side of the bracket? Of course they deserve
next
it. No?
segment. Yes. The answer is yes.
Dom's going with the yes. I think the interesting conversation here is about like how crazy it is that DRX is actually here. Because realistically, they shouldn't have been at Worlds at all.
They
no one had them over Sandbox.
Yeah, and either Sandbox or KT. Like they weren't even really in the conversation. You really have to. What's so impressive about DRX is like I don't know what the fuck happened. Like maybe when the pressure was off, that's when it all came together, and they felt less nervous or less compelled to play well. Perhaps they had some shift in their coaching, but you really have to contextualize where they were because, as I stated earlier, they hadn't beaten any team in the playoffs, except for they had very good matchup versus Damwon because for whatever reason, Pyosik just goes Super Saiyan whenever he faces Canyon and just puts him in the dumpster. It's very weird to watch. Pyosik's a very streaky player. Most of their success had come in early in the summer split. By the end, they were 0-2 in best of threes to both Liv Sandbox and KT. And the last best of 3 they had against KT, which actually would have affected seeding, so it was important to the overall playoffs, they not only lost 0-2 to KT, they got absolutely reamed. Okay? They got 2 kills in 2 games. It was not close, okay? They got 2 kills in game 1, and they got 0 kills in game 2. They got completely bitch slapped into another dimension. So, like, seeing this team go through their qualifier run and just kind of barely edge it out, come up clutch in these situations, and then get into Worlds, got out first in their group, which wasn't happened. If anything, you would have said RNG is the dark horse coming from play-ins that could win Worlds. It's completely unreasonable to think that it would have been DRX. And then DRX comes out, beats the reigning world champion, and not only does that, but overcomes probably significant, psychological hurdles after the end of that game too, having to reverse sweep, and then coming into Gen.G. And even though Gen.G obviously massively underperformed at this World Championship relative to
that doesn't exist.
Relative to expectations.
I'm going to stop you there. It doesn't exist. I think DRX was just better than Gen.G the entire time. Even though they were getting their ass beat, they were like, what? They lost what was the stat? Like they lost the last 11 games they played against Gen.G. It was like 2-0, 2-0, 3-0, 2-0. Like get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Like it was that type of like ass beating. Even though that happened, this was the only reality that was conceivable. And if you thought Gen.G, like, yeah, I mean, sure, Gen.G won LCK, but like, what does that matter? Like, all that matters is Worlds. So yeah, DRX is just the absolute just best team, in the world. I'll say it right here. They're the best team in the world. And
yeah, it all starts with one upvote, and I upvote that idea there, Dom.
I mean, I think Gen.G, for whatever reason, struggled with a meta that they really had no business struggling with the players that they had, except for maybe Doran. But for the most part, it's pretty inexcusable.
It depends on what you consider the meta, right? Because like if the meta is actually like Graves Viego, then I could see them struggling. Like in spring, for example, when the meta was Lee Sin Viego, I think that was part of the reason why Gen.G was worse than T1 was because those were like Owner's champions, right? Like Owner would just play Lee Sin literally every game. It felt like every single time I watched T1 play, Owner was just on Lee Sin in spring and just smurfing on everyone, right? So I think that in a carry jungle meta, they could have struggled, but I feel like there's enough tank junglers in the meta where you don't need to play carries. Like you should just be able to do what you did versus Dom1, right? Like play the Maokai, play the Sejuani, just play all those matchups and just allow your fucking carries to carry. Like it felt like Ruler was getting massive advantages every game. Just let him fucking carry. Let Ruler cook.
He didn't Russell Wilson it, luckily. Maybe Chovy did. Maybe Peanut definitely did. Anyway, I think historically, as we've discussed, and I know you mentioned the many changes to Graves over the years, but it is one of Peanut's most played champions in his career. And like, look, I know Peanut is smart enough to be able to path correctly on Graves. He did it a couple times during the group stage. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty appalling Graves' performance versus DRX. DRX also has some very relevant pocket picks. We've talked about how the Zeka champion pool kind of lucked into that, especially with the few number of mid lane bans that are cycling around right now. Deft has been as expected, and I'm looking forward to that matchup versus Gumayusi. Kingen, just don't get this guy on, please. Like LCK learned this a while ago. We'll see if Zayas wants to, play GP into it.
Into it, maybe.
that's definitely more of a risk, I will say, than versus Doran. But I think DRX does deserve it. But the reason why I wanted to bring up this topic is because you really have to talk about how fucking unlikely it was that they would have gotten here. And I'm not saying that some of their wins are fraudulent, but there have also been some pretty big underperformances. We have to acknowledge that maybe Scout and Chovy were not at their most Scout and Chovy in some of these games. I think we just have to acknowledge that.
I'm just gonna stop you there once again. Like that, I think that just shows how much better Zeka was than Scout. Like, I mean, Scout just like
mind controlled him, dude, and forced him to int into the turret.
Yeah, 4 solo kills. That's reasonable. Some people just die 4 times.
Yeah, with this Worlds appearance, DRX is the lowest seeded team to make the World Finals. The last lowest seeded team before that was Suning. It was Suning that was the number 3 seed from China, but was a pot 2 team.
I mean, DRX had a negative win rate. They were 9-9 in best of 3s and 22-23 in individual maps at the end of summer. And then they just got clapped out of playoffs. And for reasons unknown, it'll be an interesting story to tell later. But honestly, because the qualifier was played before the Worlds patch, it's even more confusing that they managed to suddenly find success in a meta that they were not good at, and then maintain that level of success into a new meta. That's wild.
Yeah. Riot's going to go ahead and push these Battle of Two Titans. It's really, again, the unlikely story of how DRX has made it here against T1, who seems to have earned their spot and found their way in the unkillable Demon King and his Demon Prince, as well as it's now being dubbed to Gumayusi. So I like the fact that we had to take a step back and put everything into perspective again. The 6th seed, 3-2 wins from the lower bracket gauntlet of the LCK to make it on in before the plans and everything else after that. Dom, any final words that you want to add here?
I mean, I just think that DRX, the thing that's been the most surprising for me is not necessarily just like the individual play. It's the fact that they actually are like winning setups on objectives versus like Gen.G, for example. Like when they actually are getting to an objective, they are warding correctly and they're playing the fights out like more in a more disciplined way, which is one of the reasons why I felt like they always lost to Gen.G. Like if you watch the first game of this series, that's how I remember DRX versus Gen.G looking. Like DRX normally just like they just can't do anything when they play against Gen.G. Where like they show up to the objective, they lose the fight, they pack it up, they go home. You know, it is what it is. So I feel like the thing that's been the most impressive about DRX is like how they're able to like suddenly like win all these objective setups, which is a very hard thing. Like if you've ever played professional league or you've ever played a competitive league game, getting everyone working together at an objective, knowing where to place their vision, how to like make good decisions on like whether to like engage, turn, like how to like allocate like all your resources, like warding your flank. Like there's so many things that go up into these setups, which is why normally teams that have better setups just end up like winning tournaments. You know, like for example, when you went into Worlds last year, people were just saying like EDG and Dom1 were the favorites from the beginning, because when they got to like a team fight and they start putting their wards down and they start like deciding on whether they're going to fight, they're going to beat you there like 9 times out of 10 without even having to outplay you, just because they know what they need to do. And like they're so practiced in those environments. RNG at MSI in the last 2 MSIs they won were the same way, where it's like they were just the best around Baron in the world. You get the Baron, they know how many people need to turn, if they need to sacrifice somebody to zone the jungler, like what they need to do. Those are like the keys to making deep runs in international tournaments. And I think the most underrated part about DRX is not like the pop-offs from like Zeka or like, you know, the support picks or like whatever. Like I think the individual play is obviously better, but to me the most impressive part is their ability to get better at a part of the game that is so complex and requires so much teamwork. And I don't know if they were like sat down one day and it's like, Beryl used to be the fucking goat at this for like Dom1. You tell us, like, we're just gonna do whatever the fuck you say. Like, I don't know where it came from, but that to me I think is the underrated part about DRX. And that's the thing that's like the most interesting is people work years to try to figure out these types of setups.
Yeah, I think also, and it's been a key theme that I've been highlighting for DRX throughout this tournament, but they are an extremely difficult team to beat if they get ahead of you, because they have the most slow, crushing, methodical closeout of any team. Like they are very textbook in the way that they deny vision. They will be very patient, as we saw in the Gen.G series, and just they'll play for that soul. They'll be like, yes, we are going to play a 35 to 40-minute game, but we are going to give you no hope of actually winning because we're going to go for this objective. There are no risks. It is like it's a very like classic, like low risk, kind of constricting Korean style that we've seen in the past. And they are really good at it. And the thing is that they also have been, and I think it's going to be interesting versus T1, they've been playing a lot of like kind of early dragon controls so that they can actually force fights and objectives, which is kind of counter to the way that T1 wants to play the game. So there's a very, I think, curious stylistic battle that develops between these two teams in a similar way to T1 versus JDG, that wants the, JDG wants the 5v5. T1 is just never giving them the 5v5, right? And I think DRX, their macro has just improved tremendously. And I agree with you, Dom, that's been the most interesting part of DRX for me, because while it's cool watching Zeka, like, one-shot people on a collie, to me, it's cooler to see the evolution that they've had in terms of teamwork and how patient and, on point they've been in their late game macro.
Well, we got to see the evolution of that in the JDG match as the mid laners were constantly picking globals. So it was like, hey, we're playing around the map and you got to play around me. Yaga was playing the Talia. Faker obviously pulled out the Rise, the Galio. So it's going to be a huge, huge test here for DRX. Go ahead, Dom.
I was just going to say, like, if you want an example, literally go watch Gen.G versus DRX, the second best of 3 that they played in LCK Summer. This is like when Gen.G is like 11-1. They're just the most dominant team in LCK. T1 is obviously struggling more than they did in spring, and like it doesn't feel like DRX can ever beat Gen.G because they get around an objective. Like there's no action happening. Number one, like it's just typical LCK style, right? Like where you're just playing your lanes, you're just rotating, you're showing up to objectives on time, whatever. But just Gen.G is just better at setups. So how the fuck did DRX get better than Gen.G at setups? That's like crazy. That's so hard to do. Like you literally spend months when you're on a team trying to be like, all right, so like we got to back like 1 minute before, we got to have like this amount of pink wards. We need to pink ward here, here, and here. All right, like you're going to drop your pink ward in pixel. You're going to always drop your pink ward on the objective. The other guy's going to ward for the flank. Like for certain comps, we need to ward for the flank. For other comps, we need to like ball up. Okay, when we start the objective, we need these people to turn in this way. Like you spend so long working on that. So normally once you become better at that, like it's very hard to ever lose games to teams that are worse than you, which is why it felt like Gen.G was just significantly ahead. But yeah, I mean, it's just so weird to see like the dynamic now. Like if you watch that series of Gen.G versus DRX, that best of 3, you come out of it and you feel like, yeah, well, DRX could never win. They can never win. Like no matter what happened, they could never win. You could play this game 100 fucking times, they would never win one.
Let's
DRX
give it
just
up.
beat them 3 times out of 4. Like it's so crazy.
You know what? The coaching staff of DRX has had to deal with dysfunction their whole career. It's Coach Song had to coach at TSM, had to coach at CLG. I think coached at Echo Fox for a little bit. He knows how to get a team that's not working together to work together. All right, there we go. That's the way we take some LCS
He
pride.
suffered through LCS macro, so he's not fazed by anything anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a deeper dive into DRX's magical run here to the World Finals. Next up, we have our high key, low key, no key across all the matchups in this finals match. Let's get to it. All right, so rules for this one. High key, low key, no key. We're going through every matchup, all 10 players, 1v1 against their counterpart. You have to use all 3 of these ratings at least once. You can't just be high key about everything.
That's all right. We're definitely not high key about everything.
Oh shit, it's worlds. All right, so let's get to it. Let's start let's go bottoms up. All right, so first up, and we will separate them because of the play style, some of the unique picks that they've had to separate themselves. So let's go with Keria and Beryl. Are you high key, low key, or no key excited about this matchup? I see you thinking, Monty. So let's start with you, Monty.
I guess I'm kind of, even though I said Keria might be the MVP of Worlds based on some of his performances, I'm kind of like low key about this matchup. I'm hoping it doesn't turn into like Heimerdinger priority, like weird shit. But which is a possibility. Or like Yumi getting through the draft somehow. I mean, there are some interesting angles to this. So like I'm kind of excited by it, but I think Beryl's best games have been on low mechanic champions like Braum, which means that the head-to-head between these two guys isn't very interesting. If anything, like I feel as though the shot caller head-to-head I'm very interested in between Beryl and Faker, right? But the actual support matchup in a vacuum is it might be somewhat exciting, but I feel like is probably going to be relatively, if Beryl wins, if DRX wins, it's not going to be because Beryl made some crazy play. Whereas if it could be that Keria makes some kind of hype play, but the matchup itself is not super interesting to me.
All right, Dom.
I would say that I'm like low key excited for this. I think that Keria will probably do pretty well against Beryl. I think Beryl's champion pool was good at exploiting players that had very specific champion pools previously. But I don't know if he'll be able to do the same thing versus a player like Keria, because it feels like Keria can just play everything. So if you try to pull out like any of these like weird, like, oh, we're going to like poke you down picks, I think that you're just going to end up having like Keria just counter it with like some type of enchanter, and then T1 will probably have an advantage in the bot lane.
You guys are too nice. I am no key excited about this. Other than the Heimer priority, which you hit on, Monty, I think it's not going to be one of these two guys winning the game.
I mean, nobody wants to watch Heimer anyway. It's horrible.
All right, let's move on up to probably one of the most talked about head-to-heads. It's the story of destiny with Deft, the last dance against the rise of the youngin in Gumayusi. Are you high key, low key, no key excited about this one?
I'm really high key excited about this one because I'm hoping that we see, because in previous matchups, we got to see Deft's Caitlyn in the last matchup in semifinals, but Gumayusi, legendary Caitlyn player this year in particular, we haven't seen it kind of unlocked against him, and JDG banded on both sides throughout the semifinals. But I think that there's a world where Caitlyn might get through draft 1 or 2 times as teams tried to like trade power picks or try and counter with like the Ezreal Karma or Varus Karma, depending on if they think they can get those picks without them being banned. So I think this is a really fascinating matchup. Both players, I think, have shown extremely good depth to their champion pool, ability to carry in this meta. There's still a lot of like, I'm surprised to say this, but like Kalista hasn't been a huge pick at this event so far. But I think that's something that, depending on matchup, could come back. The Draven could come back depending on matchups as well. So yeah, the Jinx might come back also. Like, it's really hard to call what this is going to look like, but the level of ADC diversity, as well as the fact that, as Dom touched on earlier, Gumayusi is having like the single best run of his career so far. Short career, but single best run of his career so far, and looking like he's in great individual form, is exciting. And there's also a great narrative here, which is one of the greatest ADCs in history, with a long and storied, almost decade-long career, actually decade-long career, come to think of it, against this new hot shot, up-and-coming, kind of crazy playstyle ADC, who is the younger brother of one of the greatest StarCraft 2 players in history. Like, it's just a fucking cool narrative.
Dom?
I mean, I think that it's a cool narrative, but at the same time, I don't think that there's that much comparison. Like, it's weird to say because I think Deft has been playing well, right, compared to Guma. I think, but it's just I mean, not compared to Guma, just like he's been playing fine, but in reality, I mean, like, a lot of the games he's just behind and it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter if he's behind a ton of a ton.
He hasn't been the star, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, it's weird, but I feel like just the way that people are going to try to spin the narrative, they're going to be like, it's Deft versus Faker. It's like, what? Like, bro, isn't it Zeka versus Faker? Like, how about those guys? Like, the guys that are like playing in the same lane? Like, isn't that the rival? It's like, no, the bot laner versus the mid laner.
I mean, it's also that historically, Deft and Faker really haven't been rivals. Like, Faker's team was bad. Like, Deft's team was bad when Faker's team was good in Korea, and then, you know, basically like they switched places, where like Faker's team was bad, then Deft's team was good, then he went to China, and and then he came back, and like that rivalry really hasn't been a thing.
They played in MSI finals, right? Huh?
Yeah.
Anything like,
but I mean, it's
no?
like, it hasn't been a big narrative over either of these players' careers, right?
So where do you land on that? Is that a low key, Dom?
That would probably, I mean, I guess if I already went low key, wait, do I have to choose one for each, or can I just go for multiple? I mean, I would say no key. I think Guma will be better. I think Guma will just be better than Deft. I think he's been playing better recently. I think I don't think that Deft is actually that strong in terms of pure 2v2 laning. I think a lot of the times where he's been getting advantages, it's because like Barrel's pick has just been so oppressive that the enemy can't actually play the lanes. But yeah, I mean, I think I just expect Guma to have a really good final.
Yeah. I'm high key excited about this because of the champion diversity that you said earlier, Monty. And I just want to see if the old hand still got it, because Guma's doing some crazy shit over the last several games.
Well, he's not going to get Lucian, I don't think so.
Well, I think it's going to like go down, like, you know, the priority list. As you said, the power picks will rotate on through. I think he's going to get it at least once. I think he'll get it at least once.
I would not advise DRX to do that. They don't play it, so.
Yeah, no, ban it every game.
Yeah,
ban it literally every game.
Okay, next up, let's head on over to the mid lane. Zeke and Faker. We already talked about it earlier about keep or kick. This has to be up there with one of the best matchups. What do you got?
Oh, that's high key for me.
Yeah, it's high key for me too.
It's high key because like Zeka has just had such an insane run. I mean, if he like either Faker wins and Faker solidifies himself as or I mean, he's already solidified as the GOAT, but he further solidifies himself as the GOAT. Like, because, you know, in recent years, because of like Showmaker's performance, Canyon's performance, like people are like, well, if Canyon gets like 1 or 2 more world championships, maybe like we have a conversation. But like if Faker now wins in like the modern era, not only does he have like this absurd amount of like accolades and dominance in the early era, getting one in the modern era while also like being a focal point for his team, I think is actually just, it just makes it so hard to ever compete with that. So I think that's like super hype. And then Zeka is just having like the craziest run we've ever seen at Worlds. We've never seen a run like Zeka's from like an individual player of like his perceived caliber coming into the tournament. So, I mean, either way, whoever wins is like, or whoever is having a better series is just like, yeah, they're just coming away with it with so much, even more than normal. You know, like when you like, for example, Scout versus Showmaker, it was nice when Scout won, but you know, at the end of the day, it was like, I mean, it's an LPL team winning, right? So we just try to like remove that. We're like, yeah, fuck, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Oh, Korea's on top. Let's fucking go. Like, so. And then even if you do want to acknowledge it, you're like, well, he's just Korean anyway, so it's just pretty much a win for the LCK, I would say. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's really good. I think it's a really good matchup. It's my high key matchup. I don't think you can have a higher key matchup than this. It's the craziest run we've ever seen from an individual player compared to expectations versus the fucking GOAT.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like, people are going to have a lot of eyes on Zeka to see if, you know, he's going to be the next big thing. My expectations on Zeka are still out, you know, because I need to see him in different metas, obviously perform at this same level. That's the big question mark for me. But it is incredibly exciting, and he has there's almost no way that anyone on DRX could take the MVP from him at this point if they win the finals. Like, that's how good his performance has been. Like, he would have to really suck in the finals in a win,
and they still win. Yeah,
and they still win, and somebody else would have to have just an unearthly performance. And who's that going to be? It's not going to be King, and I'll tell you that. So it might be Def. Like,
Yoshik. He just smurfs it on his Kindred. Look, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in the finals. You want me to leak game 1 of the finals? This is what's going to happen.
Graves versus Kindred.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Owner's going to pick Graves, and they're going to be like, ha, we have the Kindred counter pick. We did it versus Peanut Graves. Like, we can run it back again. And then they're going to see Owner's Graves. Oh shit, that's a real Graves. Oh fuck. And then we're just going to get a ban for the rest of the series. That's my NostraDOMus take. We'll just put it in this fucking section. That's my NostraDOMus take.
The NostraDOMus take right there.
That's what we got.
In the mid lane, high key, low key, no key. Great. Perfect. All right. I'm high key excited about it. All the other reasons that you guys said. Let's move on to the jungle role. As you said earlier, it's Pyosik, it's Owner. Where are we going with this one?
No key. Fuck this matchup, dude. Like, Dom might be hyped about Owner's Graves, but I think it's an aberration that Owner has been pathing this well on Graves. This is not typical of this player, and he might just regress to the mean during the actual finals. If anything, I think Owner has been the least interesting and lowest performing member of T1 throughout their Worlds runs. He has done things like in their first game versus Fnatic, where he overplays his hand and like costs them the game. He's been out of position.
He should have cost them the game 3 versus JDG, for example. With
he makes critical errors. He makes critical errors, and it's lucky for him that he's been able to kind of get back onto the Viego train and like keep rolling. But I do have some questions about his champion pool. I say this as we, you know, saw his Nocturne, which is interesting and something that T1 has done this year. But his Poppy has never been good. He is not the most cerebral jungler that we have at this event. And while Pyosik, I think, had a very strong series versus Gen.G, I disagreed with giving him like the MVP of the series over Zeka. At least that's what I saw on the analyst desk from Riot. And it's cool that his niche pick, right, has become a feature of this, you know, a possible feature of this matchup versus Graves and Kindred. It's still not like, it feels like he kind of lucked into it in a similar way to Zeka did. And lucking into the right meta is part of winning Worlds. Or doing well at Worlds. This is fair. It's always true that that's the case. But it's very hard for me to really like be pumped about this matchup, having watched, you know, this entire year of Pyosik versus Owner. Like, they're just not my favorite junglers in the LCK.
Dom.
Well, my favorite junglers in the LCK this split were, I mean, Monty's probably gonna hate this. I liked Canyon, and then even though Kroko is a complete psychopath, I love
Kroko. Fuck you. Look, he is a psycho, and he randomly ends games, but he's very entertaining. Entertaining.
I really liked watching Kroko. So those are
I
probably
fucking
my
love
favorite to
Kroko.
watch.
I think Kroko is an idiot, but Kroko makes the craziest. Like, he makes games fun to watch, one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, so I think Kroko and Canyon are probably my favorite, but I think Owner might be slightly like underrated. Like he does make some errors, but I think a lot of the times those errors come from like deeper things of him trying to like fix lane states that are probably unfixable. So sometimes it feels like he gets kind of sucked into like, you know, the typical like, oh, I need help top. Like, okay, I'm help. Oh fuck, we're both dead. Like that type of thing. But I do think he's like I do think Owner is like a significantly better jungler than Pioshik. He just seems a lot like a lot cleaner in his decisions. Like Pioshik just wastes a lot of time. That's something that I value really heavily as a jungler is like your efficiency. It doesn't have to be efficiency in just terms of like your camp farming, because that's like what people just always assume that you're talking about. I'm talking about efficiency in terms of like how quick you make your decisions and get in and out of the plays that you are trying to make. So like if you are like playing around bot or if you're hitting a dive timer, like how efficiently do you get to the dive timer, dive it? Like, are you there early? Are you wasting time? If you're going to invade camps, are you like on the camp when it spawns? Do you take the camp and get the fuck out? Or are you like just walking into the enemy jungle, put a ward? Is the camp spot? Oh, it's not here. Oh shit. Am I looking bot? You like stand behind bot turn for, oh, I guess this isn't dive bully, and then you just go back and farm your jungle.
Start your recall and stop your recall.
Yeah. That's the type of shit that I really, really hate to see junglers do. And Pioshik does that a lot more than Owner. Like, even though Owner makes bad plays, he gets really in and out of his plays quickly. Even if he makes a bad play, it's like, I am here, I inted, okay, I'm back on the map. Like, that's the shit I like. That's some alpha fucking jungling right there. So like I give Owner the pass when he does make bad plays. And just I feel like when you have that more like we're doing this, like when you have more of that mindset, I think that you just have a higher skill ceiling than somebody that is just like not really sure of what they want to do and they're just kind of trying to feel the game out. So I think that like when Owner just stops making those critical errors, he's just going to be like top tier for like years to come. And I still think that he has the potential to like not make those errors in game, to just play really clean games. Like there's some games that he plays which are just really fucking solid games.
All right.
And I just value that highly. So yeah, I mean, I guess for the matchup, I would be no key excited, but I do think like Owner is like really fucking good.
Okay, there you have it. And finally, on the top side of the map, I think for me it's low key. I had to use low key once. This is low key excited for me just because I feel like it's not going to come from them either. Like, I don't think that's where the carry performance comes. I think it comes from mid, and I'm very excited to watch that, and from bot. Those are the two.
Look, I'm low key about this top matchup because, like, look, you know, it's either going to be boring or it's going to be Zeus just like raffle stomping Kingen and like doing really well on carries, which is not interesting in the matchup. It's just interesting because Zeus is good. Like, it's either Zeus is going to be really good or it's going to be Kingen like surviving on fucking Gragas and Ornn.
I'm high-key excited about this. I think Kingen played well. We talked about that Dorn struggle, but I think Kingen made some really big plays
for DRX.
Yes,
Kingen absolutely saved game 2 for DRX. He is extremely good at team fighting with Ornn. But as far as the matchup goes, like I don't think Kingen holds a candle to Zeus. That's all.
I think Zeus has gotten a pass on a couple of games in the series, not the series. He's always bounced back and was the better top laner in the series, but games
I don't
in the
even think so.
He fell behind.
Can you say that? Can you say that like after watching him play versus 369? Can you say that Zeus was definitively better than 369 over the course of the series? Like, I don't think that was like a reasonable takeaway from watching them compete.
But that was the takeaway. That's what everyone kept saying. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Zeus, he's the god Zeus. Look, he fell super far behind, but still pushed out a ton of damage." But that's what everyone was saying, Dom. And I was like, I know my eyes aren't great. I know I'm not the analyst all the time, but that didn't seem to be the case for me.
I think that like, sure. I mean, if you look at the way Zeus got back into games, right? Like like in game 3, the GP game, the turret dive by Viego just into the shutdown, didn't kill him, and he gets the wave and it's level 6. Like, he was murdered in that game. Like, he was fucked in that game with what happened. I think the difference maker was Faker in the series. Like, I think T1's bot lane was expected to win and they won. And I think JDG's top side was expected to win and they were like doing better in most games. They were ahead in most games. And Faker was the one that made the difference, where like that was going to be the key point of the series. Like, who's going to play better, Faker or Yagao? Because I think they were similar coming in and Faker outperformed him. Like, his Rise was just playing, like he was playing Rise into Azir and somehow getting roam timers while being even CS, which I thought was like really impressive. So I think that like obviously Zeus is really, really strong, and I think that he'll have a good finals because I mean, I just think that Kingen and I think Kingen and Dorian are just weaker players than 369, for example.
Yep.
So
yes, agreed.
I mean, I just think that like I think Zeus is really good, but like I mean, he just had his test versus 369, and like I don't think that he proved that he was the better top laner in that series. I think that they just both played, and like they both played pretty well, and they both look good as fuck. Like that's how I would like. I mean, look, if 369 had Faker on his team, if they swap mid laners in that series, like I think JDG is winning. Like that's all I'm saying, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why I'm high key excited about it.
They might have had to switch
feels like
ADCs as well. They might have had to switch ADCs.
might have, but I think that like the thing is a lot of the 80 carry. So Hope was getting caught, which was definitely a big issue. But in the times where Hope was actually like outplaying Guma, I mean they didn't show it on camera obviously because the observers were like horrible. I don't know if you noticed, the observers were disgusting during this series. Like it was crazy. They were missing so much, but like Hope and missing in the late like so. Game 2, they like trade solo kills, but the wave state was actually fine, and their kill went on to AD, where the enemy kill went on to support, which isn't that bad when you're playing Lucian Nami, but obviously it's preferable to get the gold on the AD. But in Game 3, like Faker just bailed them out of essentially getting double killed. Like they were just getting double killed bot there, and sure they probably knew that Faker could have potentially had a roam timer, but even if you thought you had a roam timer, you wouldn't just suicide and be like, they're baited. Like it's not like fucking, it's not a bronze game. Like they would have waited for Faker. So like in the time where they actually like did lose a lane, Faker bailed them out.
Yeah. Well, those are our high key, low key, no key takes across all the matchups here. I have an interesting thing I was looking up because you brought up possible MVP candidates. There were no MVP candidates season 2 and season 3. Can you name all 9 MVPs? It is, and here's your hint, it has been across all 5 roles.
Monty, you go first.
Yeah, actually, just
no idea.
take turns. Take turns.
Wait,
you don't remember any of the MVPs? The finals MVPs.
The final of Worlds?
Of Worlds. The Worlds finals MVPs. And just take turns. So you take one, and then Dom, you do the other.
Yeah. All right, let's go backwards from 2021 then.
Yeah,
I think that's easy. Okay. So
So last
2021
year's-
was actually JJ. They said it was Scout. They lied.
I thought it was Scout.
Yeah, it was Scout, but they lied. Like the Scout was not the MVP of that series. They gave
That's
the
why
MVP
he's
to
going
Scout.
backwards.
Okay. They said Scout
I know
was the MVP.
I know it was Canyon when Dom won.
Okay, that's right.
It was
Canyon in 2020.
all right, so it was Canyon when Down won 2019. It was the
Tian.
Tien.
Yeah. Tien.
2018
All right.
was Ning.
Ning, that's right. 2017. That was
Ruler.
That's right. It's Ruler,
Yep.
the only 80 carry to win it. Correct.
Nice.
2016.
2016. 2016. That was also
That was a
T1
T1 win.
Team 1 versus Samsung Galaxy.
There's
Yeah, it
probably
was-
something embarrassing like Bang, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it Bengi?
No, it was. It must have been. Okay, it must have been Faker. It must have been Faker.
It was Faker. That's right.
Okay.
This one was Faker.
2015 was that Marin?
2015 was Marin.
Yes,
That's
I remember
right.
that was egregious.
Yeah, that was really egregious.
2014, I remember was Dandy because I thought it should have been Mata, but I was outvoted.
Really? On Wikipedia, it says Mata.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So your vote actually went through. I'm double checking now just to see.
No, I think you're right. You're right.
Okay.
I think that
All
changed around last second.
And then season
Was
3 and
20
season 2, there were no.
I mean, 2013 was Faker also, if we're
Yeah.
being honest.
Yeah. And 2012 season 2 was going to be probably Toys. Toys like
probably would have been
completely
Toys.
smoked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then season 1.
It should have been me, like in that world championship. I probably should have been me, but we went out in group stage 0-3. We just didn't have 6 games to go 0-6 like TSM.
Season 1 was
twice as efficient,
Shusha.
Dom.
But yeah, there we go. So we'll see. Maybe one of these high key, low key, no key matchups will be the key matchup towards someone winning the MVP. Now, 2 more segments left. We kind of already went through this one, but we're going to do it officially now. It's time for our future teller, NostraDOMus.
So last week I predicted Gen.G 3-0 versus DRX. That was the first NostraDOMus that failed us. The Canyon gapping Peanut. We could go back through all of them. There was Canyon gapping Peanut. That one was true. We had the
I mean,
E
it was
weakness-
reasonable. It was reasonable. Like I think everybody predicted 3-0. for Gen.G over DRX.
Well, actually, not everyone
Did you-
predicted a Gen.G.
Did you predict 3-1?
It was not me. No. This is why you have to subscribe and post your stuff here, because we will reward you. We
All
have
right.
one of our friends or listeners at home that listens on Spotify. So we get all the comments from everywhere. It's THB Welsh saying Def winning his quarters. He's gonna make finals. I believe in the Def's swang song. So I mean, he didn't call a score, but he called Def making it to the finals, and I think even that in itself was.
I
a pretty
appreciate
good
his narrative delusion.
I
I don't think it was remotely reasonable to think that DRX would win this match, which makes it, by the way, guys, it's not like, haha, you analysts are wrong. It's like, isn't that fucking cool for DRX, you idiots? Like, can't we just be happy about something?
Yeah, no, we can't be happy about something.
Well,
So,
I mean,
Dom, give them
it's
something else to be upset about.
I mean, okay, so to be upset
Prediction
about
wise,
my prediction wise, my prediction, which we already went over, is that they are going to give Owner Graves and try to play Kindred into it. And that matchup is fake. That used to be a good matchup before Kindred had more like clearing issues, and now like you're just more mark dependent. And if your team is not winning lanes, it's very hard to get a lot of marks. And I think with T1's like laning, bot lane, top lane, like I feel like T1 should just be the better laners everywhere besides for maybe mid in this tournament, which makes it really hard to contest marks. So I think they're going to try to give Owner Graves in order to play Kindred, and it's not going to work. I think that's going to be the NostraDOMus take. We're going to have T1 Owner playing Graves. We're going to get a Kindred pick by Pioshik into it. He's going to get shit on. They're going to fucking scrap it and just ban Graves for the rest of the series. Be a game 1 or game 2.
Monty.
I think that's likely to happen. I think that's likely to happen.
All right, 2-1. I'm writing it down so that we have it for next week. Owner playing Graves into Pioshik Kindred, and it doesn't work. We'll leave it there, like that kind of broad. All right, perfect. So this week's NostraDOMus. Do you think Dom is correct? Let us know in the comments below across all platforms, wherever you watch. Our fantastic producer Andrew will pull all the comments there if any of you guys have an egregious take or a correct take. We'll give you props too. We don't want just crazy takes. All right. To close it on out and prepare for the World Finals, let's revisit one of the best matches of the semifinals. It's our certified banger of the week. Let's get into it. Monty, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I picked this one, Dom. You may disagree. I thought it was T1 versus JDG game 2. I thought it was just incredibly interesting from both of these teams and highlighted the styles of both of these teams and how they were like interacting extremely interestingly. Was that your favorite game, or did you have a different one?
I mean, I liked the first 3 games, to be honest. I thought
They were all
were
good.
like, I thought they were all really good games. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have a problem there. I think game 2 is definitely a certified banger. I thought all 3 of the first 3 games were really interesting. So yeah, I mean, I have no objection there. I'm not objecting at all to the game 2 banger. Game 1 was a banger. Game 2 was a banger. Game 3 was a banger. Maybe my favorite was game 3. I think game 3 was really interesting. Just the way that like you had like the top side focused approach versus the bot side focused approach. Like JDG, I mean, LPL is obviously really famous for like these, like dives, right? Like that's just been the LPL thing. Ever since the durability patch, they were like, obviously LPL was the first region to like continually invest in these early like slow pushes into dives. They're able to execute it once onto Owner, then when onto Zeus, and then when Owner came to try to like force the push out, he slightly overforced, and they ended up getting double killed as a result.
Yep.
It was 2 for 1, but I mean 2 kills is just really tough to do. And the main thing was that the wave didn't actually crash. That's the actual key point, rather than the kills. Is the wave didn't actually crash there. And then you had Faker obviously roaming bot with Ryze, so then the bot lane was ahead. Or like the mid and bot lane, the bot side, I guess you could say, was ahead for T1. So I thought it was a really interesting dynamic. You got to see like the top side approach versus the bot side approach. You got to see the both teams playing around it. You got to see their mentalities as to like how they gain their advantages. And yeah, I don't know. Just thought it was a really good game.
While we're on that topic, since we're prepping for the finals, what would be the game that you pick for DRX and Gen.G? Game one was very textbook Gen.G. Very methodical, playing around the map and playing.
I mean,
at
I
their
guess
own
it would
pace
for
not
me. I guess it would be game two. Even though I think it was really riddled with mistakes by Gen.G, and I really on paper liked their draft and what they were doing with it. I think they basically had already stymied the main win condition that DRX had um by kind of stuffing the bot lane pressure that they wanted to have with the Caitlyn Lux. And I think that it was mistakes from Peanut in terms of getting greedy that really ultimately caused them to lose the game, as well as some obviously excellent, like the flash charm onto Ruler from Zeka, Kingen coming in with a lot of great barrels. So I think that's what caused Ruler to switch over to the Ezreal in the very next game. So there were some good plays by DRX. But for the most part, I think it was Gen.G allowing them to get back into the game with a pretty commanding lead. And I wasn't a huge fan of DRX's team composition overall because I think it had a pretty limited opportunity to win that was already relatively well parried in the early game by having Ruler and Lehens on Varus and Karma and handling that lane pressure.
Dom, do you agree? Game two?
Game two, I guess. I mean, it's really tough, to be honest. It's really tough. I mean, maybe game three, I guess, for me would be my certified banger. I think
I don't
three,
love any games in this series. So.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
really
very
like
clear.
any
The
games
T1
either.
series was a lot of fun. I was just saying, hey, if they wanted to see both and how DRX worked their way on through, that would be the game to do it.
Game three was the Kali game from Zeka where he popped off, right?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I guess I'll go with that one. I thought watching Zeka pop off on the Kali, I mean, he just looked clean as fuck. Like his REs just look super clean. He makes the Kali look fucking broken, by the way, which I like because I'm an Kali hater. Nerf that champion. Fuck that champion. The RE interaction, like people sometimes miss the RE interaction. I feel like that is kind of like gaslit Riot into not nerfing it. They're like, look, it's possible to fail. Zeka's like, no, I just hit that every time. Like RE, it's impossible to miss. So you know what? Zeka's doing God's work out here.
I mean, I just think the T1 versus JDG, if you look at it, what was so fun for me to watch about this match is T1 going back to what they've done for most of the tournament, which is like a bunch of like pick compositions and like getting single kills, never actually engaging in the 5v5, which I think is great versus JDG because of their renowned like 5v5 team fighting, which you also got to see them do extremely well in this series. Not even 5v5, but like 4v5 a lot of the time, stalling out objectives. And T1, they're just the masters of the map, the masters of the cross map at this point in time. And you see how they are really good at like baiting out TPs and then just disappearing their whole team into the Baron pit. And it can be hard to get Baron with compositions like the one that we saw in game two. But if you get it, your side lane pressure with the Rise and the Yone is just so great. Like the efficiency of a Baron power play with their composition is huge. It's just hard to get it. But if you can bamboozle JDG on the map and kind of get that Baron for free, the value is huge. So I love the way we saw T1. I've been saying this all tournament. They play to their win conditions super well. They've played all year with different variations of these pick comps. It's been their stylistic bread and butter. And they've done it with different champions. They're doing it again here at Worlds. And they showed that off against JDG, basically never giving them an angle. I think a lot of fans will look at T1's comps and be like, they got outdrafted. But that's only if they have to fight 5v5. If they never fight 5v5 and they play if they can force the game into kind of their approach, which they did against JDG, that's when you see really the power of what they have to offer. And they just play like no one else at Worlds. They're very unique, and they're a pleasure to watch.
One of the unique takes of it, correct me if I'm wrong, was this was when like Faker had to play Kai'Sa as part of like that pick composition?
Oh
thing?
yeah, no, they had to.
Yeah.
They basically got AP Kai'Sa nerfed, but they also were playing Vex in this way in spring. Like a lot of their spring success was somebody engages from a really long way away, and then all of a sudden they're on you in a side lane with a man advantage, and they're finishing you off from half the map away with a Jinx rocket, right? They don't play 5v5 League of Legends very often. They have a couple times at this tournament, and they did in the final game against JDG, but it hasn't been, probably 3/4 of their games have been playing more of this pick style.
Well, there you have it. Teams with 2 different types of play styles, storylines across everything. And to cleanse your palate, go watch that game 2 or game 3 of T1 versus JDG. Those are your certified bangers. And y'all, that's our episode for Power Spike. Who knew that only 2 series could provide so much content for you all at home? There was a lot to talk about. And if you want to continue to talk about it, make sure to show up at the Chase Center at Harmonic Brewing inside of Thrive City, which is, it's like in the area right outside of the stadium. I promise you, it is right there.
If you are there, it will take you 30 seconds, like, to walk there, get some free merch, have a beer, have some food, hang out with us, watch that pre-show. We're also streaming it, guys. So if you can't come live, then watch it from home. So it'll be a great time. It's our first live event. We hope to see a lot of you there.
Yeah, San Fran, Sacramento, San Jose, if y'all are there, just come through. We know tickets were hard, so it'll be a lot of fun. That does it for us. I guess, do you want to do predictions? Do you want to predict?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Sure. I'll predict for Monty and myself. How about that? I'll predict for both of us.
Go for it.
3-0 T1.
Yeah, sounds about
Oh my god.
You even wanted, I could see that you wanted, you're like, oh, I want to say 3-1.
I want to say 3-1, but I was like, my intellectual honesty and immense disappointment with DRX over the course of the year makes it like, look, man, they got to turn back into a pumpkin at some point in time. I will be hyped beyond belief if DRX wins this series straight up. It will be the most insane Worlds run ever. So I'm not saying I don't want that to happen, but like, if we're really being honest with ourselves, it shouldn't happen.
Honesty doesn't matter. That's the policy. You know how they say honesty is like the best policy? When it comes to League of Legends esports, honesty is actually the worst policy. The best policy is just like bandwagoning whatever team is currently doing well and pretend like, regardless of your predictions, is pretending like you just expected that to happen the entire time. That is what people want.
Or playing to your core fan base and predicting Rogue to 3-0 JDG.
True. No,
well,
good.
There have been 4 3-0s in the history of the League of Legends World Championship. None in the last 2 years. It was last FPX over G2. It was the 2 European squads that got actually 3-0'd. And Fnatic as well, as IG took them down. We'll see if this one happens. The potential is there for DRX to boom out, but the potential is also there for DRX to complete the greatest upset. Greatest upset in world's history? Yeah, I'd say so. One of them. All right, we're going to close it out there. Y'all, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to this video. Follow Last Free Nation for all your esports content. If you can't make it to San Francisco, watch Dom on his live viewing. If you can make it there, come say hi to me and Monty.
Or you can check out Sykkuno's co-stream. You can check out Sykkuno's
well, yes, you
co-stream.
can.
You can watch
multiple
watch
tabs. Multiple tabs open. All right.
Yep.
Thank you all so much for listening and watching. We'll catch you guys for our closing episode of the World's 2022 competitive season. See ya.